In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a fuel tank on your Toyota Camry. Let's get started. Using a 10mm wrench, loosen the terminal on the battery. Remove the negative. Using a flat blade screwdriver, we're going to get under the seat. You're going to feel a metal bracket down there. We're going to position our screwdriver right there and pop up. Pop the seat out, then we'll do the same thing on the other side. You can see the metal U bracket, and that fits into the plastic piece sitting in the floor, and that's where it clips in. To remove the seat, hinge it up and back, and then push out, and you're able to remove. Using a pry bar or a flat blade screwdriver, we're going to go around this cover and pop it up. Go around the cover, unsticking it. There's a push button connector on this far side. We're going to go ahead and push that, press the button in, and remove the connector. Because of how sticky this tape is, I'm going to actually remove the cover from this harness. I'm going to put it over to the side. I don't want that sticking to any of the upholstery. Using a vacuum, we're going to suck up any dirt or debris that's sitting on top or around the fuel pump. We're going to remove the lock. To do this, there's two tabs on either side. We're going to push those out, and as we push those out, we're then going to be able to pull it up. Remove the safety clip completely. Remove the fitting. I'm going to wrap this line up with a rag so we don't have any fuel spill. Don't lose track of your lock. Put it off to the side somewhere safe. Using a 14mm wrench to hold the head of the bolt, you're going to use a 14mm wrench to remove the nut. The head of the bolt is rounded off, so I'm using a pair of locking pliers to hold the head of the bolt. We're going to go through and remove all of the hangers for the exhaust pipe, and we're going to move this out of the way to drop the tank. This first hanger is right up front by the bolts we took off, and then sliding down. The next one should be right here. Our hanger broke off the exhaust, so we'll just be able to remove this, and then we'll take this tang out. If you're able to remove your muffler bolts and get a new gasket, you could just take out this middle section and leave the muffler in place. Our muffler is not connected. There should be 3 rubber hangers for the muffler. They'll go on these 3 hooks. You can remove the whole system as one and just put it out of the way and then put it up after. Ours is going to come out in pieces. Using a pair of pliers, we're going to remove the rubber hanger. Then we're going to remove the exhaust. Remove the nut and 1 bolt for the e-brake cable. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Using a 10mm socket, remove the nut. Pull the cable off of the stud. 10mm bolt is located right next to the trailing arm. Go ahead and remove that. We're going to pull this cable down and out of the way, and then we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. We're going to go around the tank, removing the 4 10mm bolts for the heat shield. There is also 2 push clips, one on this side and one on the other. Right here, our heat shield is broken, so we're not going to mess with this bolt. So we'll move to the next one on the corner. To remove these clips, you're going to take a pair of pliers and squeeze the plastic. And as you squeeze the plastic, you're going to push up. You're also going to pull down and release the clip. And then we'll go do the same thing on the other side with all of the clips and all of the bolts removed. Remove the heat shield. Install the jack under your fuel tank. Using a 14mm socket on a long extension, we're going to remove the strap bolts. Remove the bolt. Do the same thing on the other side. We're going to pull down on the tank straps. Do the same thing on the other side. We're going to lift up on the strap, and you're going to see a pin inside of this bracket. I'm going to use a right angle pick to push that pin out. Just like that, and then you can remove the strap. Do the same thing on the other side. We're going to reach up on the back side of the tank on the driver's side, and you're going to find two connections. It's going to be one right here, and the other will be for the filler neck. This blue connector right here, we're going to press on either side on these blue tabs, and that's going to release the clip. Push on the two tabs and pull the line off. We're going to remove the clip for the filler neck lock. You should be able to pull and go straight back. On the side, you'll see these tabs that are pointing out. I grabbed the end of this and pulled out and released it from this plastic ring. And then we can remove it from the car. We're going to remove this white plastic lock from the filler neck. We're going to push on that tab right there, and it's going to unlock. Go ahead and remove that. On the top of this, there's going to be two tabs on either side. We're going to push these in and down. And I'm also going to use a right angle pick right here, and that's going to help me leverage the clip out. Felt one side pop down. Now we're working on this other side. And we'll pull the clip down. This is the fully unlocked position. For separating these two lines, be sure you have a rag. This is a return line, so there is gas sitting in here. And it will come out when you pull it off. Give you a gauge on how much. Just like that. We're going to remove the bolts for the sway bar bushing brackets using a 12mm socket. And do the same thing on the other side. Pull the sway bar down and out of the way. We're going to go down slowly with our tank, making sure we're not pulling on any of our connections. There will be one more connection that we need to go after, and that'll be this one right here. This is inaccessible with the tank all the way up. So we're going to drop the tank down slightly, but we do not want to pull it all the way down because we do not want to break that hose or connection. We're going to just keep going down slow, checking our hoses, checking our connections, making sure we're not pulling on anything. To remove the filler neck, there's going to be a little tab right in here. Using a flat blade screwdriver, push on that tab and then pull up on the filler neck and it will remove off of the tank. You can go down just a little bit farther before we're really pulling on that evap hose. Right there, I'm going to go up just a tad. On either side of this connector, there's two tabs. We're going to push down on this connection, and as we push down, we're going to squeeze these two tabs. We were unable to get the connection off of our fuel tank, so we're going to remove this hose off of the evap canister. To do this, there's going to be these two tabs on either side. We're going to push this hose on, and that's going to give us a little wiggle room. It's going to put those tabs in a good unlock position. Then we're going to pull the hose off. Remove the vent hose. With all of our connections undone, we can go all the way down on the tank. As you're doing this, you'll have to move the e-brake cables out of the way. Just move them towards the top of the tank and continue going down. And remove the tank from the vehicle. We're going to start moving all of our components. We're going to start with this evap hose. I've tried removing this and I haven't been able to do it, so I'm going to start going around it with some tools, just popping these tabs off to the side. You want to be very careful when you do this. You do not want to wreck this evap hose or the connection. This one's just old and crusty and really on there. You should be able to push on these two tabs right here, and it should poke these two tabs in, put them in the unlock position, and then pull it up. We're going to go around and remove all of the pads on the tank. You can use a flat blade screwdriver to help you pick them up. They should peel up pretty easy. We're going to go through all of these pads, and we're going to take the sticky side off of the back of the pad. Take a flat blade screwdriver and just kind of scrape on it, and you'll create a lip on the glue layer. Then you're able to just peel it back. And go through and do this on all of the pads, and then we'll use some double-sided tape, and we'll tape them to the tank. Using an adhesive or a double-sided tape, you're going to go through and hit all of the spots where you're going to put the pads, peel the backing off, and stick your pads to it. Now I'll go around and do that on all of the other spots for all 7 pads. To remove the bracket for the fuel line, remove the 10mm bolt. Ours is not connected, so we don't have to worry about this. We're just going to take this off completely. Before removing all the bolts for the fuel pump, we're going to go around and we're going to use a blowgun and we're going to blow off all of the dust and dirt around it. We don't want any of this falling in the tank, getting in our filter, anything like that. Using an 8mm socket, go around and remove all of the bolts for the fuel pump. I'm going to remove the top. We're going to pull the fuel pump out. I'm going to let this drain on its side. Let all the fuel drip out. Once the fuel pump's done draining, we're going to grab it, Move it to our bucket, and we're going to put this to the side. Install the fuel pump into the tank. Install the cover over the line. Line up the alignment pins with the plate, with the fuel pump, and install the screws. Go around and snug all of them down. I'm going to go in a cross pattern, going across since it's a rubber gasket. Torque the fuel pump bolts to 52 inch-pounds. Install the evap hose onto the tank. Push until you hear a click, give it a pull, make sure it's locked on. Start to lift the tank into the car. Once you get most of the way up, go around, check your e-brake cables, make sure they're not getting pinched. Check this front line, make sure it's not getting pinched. When installing, I like to actually put this line up over this brace, keeps it out of the way. Install the evap hose onto the charcoal canister. Push until you hear a click. If you don't hear a click, give it a pull and make sure it's locked on. We're going to get our filler neck over the connection. We're going to go up. Make sure it's lined up. The tank all the way pushed up. Get the filler neck bottomed out on the gas tank. Install the white locking ring. Install the locking tab. Install the line onto the tank. Make sure that it seats and it's locked on. Give it a pull, make sure it doesn't come off. Install the plastic fuel line onto the metal hard line. Make sure the line is fully seated and then close the lock. Give it a pull, make sure it's locked. Install the e-brake cable onto the stud. Get the nut started. Snug the bolt down. Install the e-brake cable right next to the trailing arm bracket. Snug the bolt down. And do the same thing on the other side. Install the strap into the bracket over the e-brake cable. I'm going to use a magnet to help me install the pin. Stick the pin to the end of the magnet. Line it up in the bracket. Push it in. Make sure it's fully seated. Just like that. And do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to install the bolt into the strap, and I'm going to be using 2 long extensions. Then we're going to wrap the strap around the tank, push it up towards the mounting hole, and then we'll get the bolt started. Do the same thing on the other side. Torque the tank strap bolts to 29 foot-pounds. Remove the jack from under the gas tank. We're going to install the heat shield. There should be 4 bolts for this. Ours will only have 2. There will be 2 more plastic clips that'll clip into these middle holes. When we put this up, we're going to shoot to put on these plastic clips first. That'll hold it up there for us, and then we'll go around and put our bolts in. Push the heat shield up and over the plastic clip, and they'll hold it there for you. Install the bolts. Swing the sway bar forward, tilt it all the way up. Go around and get all the bolts started. Do the same thing on the other side. The nuts inside of here broke. That's why we have the free nut up top. Usually the nut is welded to this bracket. We have 2 bolts that are like that, but we have 2 that are not. Snug the bolts down. Do the same thing on the other side. Torque the sway bar bracket bolts to 23 foot-pounds. Do the same thing on the other side. Install the exhaust into the vehicle. I'm going to get the rear hanger started first. I'm using a pole jack as just a second set of hands. And we'll get our front hanger started. Hang it on there, and it'll just hang there by itself. Install the gasket onto the back of the front pipe. Pull your other exhaust pipe up to meet. Get the bolts lined up and get the nuts started on the back. In my case, I'm going to be using a 13mm wrench to hold the head of the bolt and a 12mm wrench to tighten the nut. Do the same thing on the other side, going back and forth, making sure it's seating square. Once you're done, go ahead and remove the jack. If you have a cap, go ahead and remove that now. We'll grab our line. We're going to push this straight on. And then install our lock. Make sure it's clipped into place. Install the plug through the door. Install the connector into the fuel pump. Push until you hear a click. Position our cover back where it was. Push it down. Make sure it's nice and sealed. If you're having trouble resealing this, you can get extra butyl tape to help stick it back down. And then make sure the grommet is installed into this top door. Install the seat bottom into the vehicle. Grab your seat belts. Make sure the seatbelt buckles are sticking out of the seat cushion. We're going to tilt the seat up and push in. Make sure it's secure. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Install the negative cable onto the battery and snug down the terminal.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.